not sealed, and there may be some shifting of blood flow that shouldn't happen from the part of the heart muscle that's under high pressure, which is where it pumps to the rest of our body and overcomes gravity to our brain and everything. But it's not supposed to, but has to. But if there's a remaining hole, is that the cock-off valve is putting too much pressure on the right side of the heart, which is not supposed to be under a lot of pressure. In return, it gets the venous.
So I thought maybe I would sit down and share this thing that's been happening over the past couple of months over several different doctor's appointments that I've had. I eat healthy, I exercise regularly, I run maybe 5 miles a week. November 12th, I had my first appointment with my new primary physician. And he asked me if I had any sort of concerns or health issues that I wanted to address with him. And I'd known that I'd had like a really slow heartbeat since I was a kid. The doctor was like, great, when was the last time you did like a physical exam? And I was like, I don't remember ever doing a physical exam. And he was like, okay, awesome, no problem. Like, why don't we schedule you for a physical exam? And I was like, awesome, sounds great. The next day I went to this lab and I had some blood work done, and they did an EKG, and they put me on this bed and they connected me to all these wires. So I was lying there on this bed, and the technician was looking at her computer, and then she was looking at me, and she was like, are you feeling okay? And I was like, yeah, I feel fine. And she just all of a sudden just like left the room, and I could hear her in the other room calling my doctor. I couldn't really hear what she was saying, but she came back into the room and she was like, do you exercise a lot? And I was like kind of like a few times a week. I guess so, yeah. She comes back in, we finish the EKG, she prints off the results, she puts them in an envelope and she hands it to me and she says, see what your doctor says about this. And I was like, okay. I go to my doctor for my physical exam. We go over the blood work. He looks at the EKG and he's like, okay, this is what he did. He's like, whoa, that's a low pulse. My pulse on the EKG was 34, which is pretty low. And he was like, how do you feel? Like, are you feeling okay? And I was like, I feel great. I feel fine. Like, when I'm working out, I feel good. I feel like I have a lot of energy. Like, okay, I'm just gonna like speak to the other doctor. I'm just gonna get maybe a second opinion. And he leaves the room and he comes back with the second doctor. And she looks at me and she goes like this. She's like, do you do drugs? Like, do you do cocaine or anything like that? And I was like, no. And she's like, do you restrict calories? And I was like, oh, I used to restrict calories. I used to exercise a lot and I would eat very, very little. They were like, okay, we're going to make a referral to a cardiologist. And I left that appointment like feeling like so bummed out. Like I had like done something horrible to my body. Like I messed up, I damaged my heart, and like now I'm going to be like paying the price for this, like these like eating problems that I had when I was younger. A couple weeks later, I go to my cardiology appointment, and at this appointment there is a cardiologist and the nurse practitioner, and it's just kind of like a sit-down meeting. Like we just talk about how I'm feeling. I tell them I feel great. They ask me some questions. Really like, okay, since you feel okay, like this doesn't seem like something that's like an emergency or like something that's super concerning. Like it might be something that we want to monitor over the next 5, 10, 15 years to make sure that you're feeling okay. Perhaps one day you might need to get a pacemaker that will help your heart beat at more of a normal pace. But for now, it looks like everything looks great. We do want to schedule you for a stress echo test. And I was like, cool, awesome, perfect. Like, sounds great. The next day is my stress echo. I go in, and this stress echo test is being run by these two technicians, and they're both really cool. There's a lady who's running the stress test part, the treadmill, and then there's a guy who's running like the ultrasound. We're all kind of joking around, like laughing, whatever. They're being very encouraging. And I noticed that when the guy was doing the ultrasound on my heart, he became a little bit more like, I guess, focused. Like, he wasn't joking around as much as he had. He was just kind of like looking at the computer, just like, not like really like anything super concerning, but it was just something that I noted, that like he just seemed more focused and was joking around less than he had like a few moments before. 4 weeks go by. February 5th, which is yesterday, I had my follow-up appointment where I was to go over the results of the stress echo. And so I go in and I meet with the cardiologist and the nurse practitioner again. They were like, "You're in great shape, your heart responds really well to the stress test, like no problems there." And I was like, great, perfect. But they said, there are a few things about your heart which we are concerned about and we need to look into more. Great. The nurse explained that the right ventricle of my heart seems to be a bit larger and a bit more muscular than it should be. Generally, the muscles in our body, the bigger they get, the more muscular they become, the better. But the opposite is true with your heart muscles. We don't want your heart muscles to become too large or too muscular because it interferes with how it pumps the blood. We basically want your heart to pump the blood in a really kind of easeful way. And the second thing that they noted was that there's kind of a certain way that blood travels through your heart. Like there's a normal path that it should take. And with my heart, it seems that the blood is flowing directly between ventricles rather than going through the route that it's expected to go, which could indicate that maybe there's a hole in my heart. Which I was really not expecting them to say that. And even the cardiologist said, like, this was kind of a surprise. Like, we really weren't expecting to find any problems. But the good news is that we did find it. You are young, to kind of prevent any further damage to your heart, which you might not have caught otherwise. So that's like kind of the relief. But the other thing, while I was in this appointment, while I was waiting for the doctors, I like reached into my bag and I grabbed my phone and I started recording, because I make sure that I had a recording of it, that I could listen to it when I got home and I could kind of like review some of the things that they had said. So I'm just going to play some of that for you now. I know, like, it's weird playing people's voices on YouTube. I'm not going to disclose who my doctor is, just for privacy reasons. But I do want to just kind of share some of the things that they said.
But it's comfortable. Hopefully you'll just kind of rest and maybe drift off. But it may take an hour to get a full set of pictures of the heart, because what we're looking for is any subtle abnormality that could explain why your right side of your heart is a little bigger than what it should be. Okay. Sometimes there's holes in the heart that we may have all been born with certain holes in our heart that are supposed to seal up. Some people's holes in the heart, the way the fetus developed, never got sealed, and there may be some shifting of blood flow that should happen from the part of the heart muscle that's under high pressure, which is where it pumps to the rest of our body and overcomes gravity to our brain and everything. But it's not supposed to, but has to. But if there's a remaining hole, the cock-off valve is putting too much pressure on the right side of the heart, which is not supposed to be under a lot of pressure. It gets the venous blood, the unoxygenated blood that pumps only to the lungs, and the lungs are right at the heart muscle, so it doesn't require a lot of pressure to get to the lungs. But if it is under a lot of pressure from a hole that never sealed, that could lead over the course of years, like when you're in your young, adolescent to then middle ages, into problems where you start to feel like I just don't have the energy, I just can't keep up with my peers, and I've got symptoms where my heart skips beats and stuff, right? Those are probably most likely. And then to complement that, because it's not always perfectly figured out on the MRI, is to do a more invasive type of ultrasound where we would actually kind of combine what's like an endoscopy, where they take, again, really like telescope tubing, where they have a telescope on the end of it where we can see images, and to get closer to the heart, ask you to do a day.
Yeah, so they told me that there are 2 tests that they want me to do. The first one is an MRI, and then the second test is where basically they put a camera down my esophagus. They can operate the camera while it's inside of my chest or stomach or whatever, and see if there's a hole or not in my heart, and how big the hole is as well. And so that will determine kind of how we move forward, whether and what sort of procedures will need to be done to mend the hole, which I'm kind of nervous about, but really I can't think about that. I just need to my feelings after leaving that meeting was just shock a little bit, and I just felt super depressed and really, I guess, annoyed that this was kind of thrown at me. And I have to say, even making this video right now, I'm just kind of thinking about how lucky I am to feel as well as I do, and also to live in Canada, which has free healthcare. So all these tests that they're doing and all these appointments are covered by our healthcare system. And I know that there are going to be a lot of people watching this who don't have access to that kind of care. So, which I'm really trying to focus on the positives, and really also, it could be worse. People go through the most horrible health problems and health scares, whether it's themselves or their loved ones, and really I have a lot to be grateful for. And I just really wanted to make this video just to kind of, I guess, share some of the feelings that I've been having for the past couple of days, and just to reflect. And talking about this experience will help someone else, or maybe someone can relate to it. Anyway, I just really want to thank you for watching. I'll try to keep you up to date on my future tests and appointments. They said it's not going to be another 2 or 3 months for the MRI and for the other test to go into my esophagus, but I'll try to keep you up to date. And I just really want to thank you for watching this video. Always shocked when someone watches my video, even if it's one person. But yeah, thanks for watching.